Hello, group. Welcome back to the Action Rock Corner. I'm Richard May, your Doctor of Rock, but today more of a Doctor of Funk Rock, because we're going to talk about Bernie Worrell, Wave from the Wooniverse. This came out last year, one of my favorites from 2024. We also spent a minute talking about Eddie Hazel, Dames and Guitar Thangs. This is being reissued tomorrow on vinyl, and it's going to be a bit more than I paid for it for my first copy years ago, decades ago. This is a 1977 record, and they're both great. So, let's talk about this first. Well, let me explain this first. Why should you care about two Funkadelic alumni albums now? And you're thinking, oh, you talk about Atomic Dog, One Nation Under a Groove, Uncle Jam Wants You. No. That's not quite, that's great. That's not quite what we're talking about here. That's not why I expect you to appreciate Bernie Worrell and Eddie Hazel. We're talking about the original Funkadelic, Maggot Brain, more than 50 years ago. This is where all funk rock comes from, is the original Funkadelic, with George Clinton in charge, of course, with the Maggot Brain, an old Westbound label, the self-titled debut of Funkadelic, Standing on the Verge of Getting It On, another classic. I'm showing you the back cover of Cosmic Slop. The front cover is nice, but it is unique. It may be a bit much for some of you. America Eats Us Young, another classic. And the last I will discuss, let me be careful. I mark these as not being for children, but I'm still going to be careful with YouTube. Free your mind, and your ass will follow. And I get to look at the ass in question. A lovely young lady 50 years ago. Is there a black grandmother somewhere in the world with this framed on her wall? And her grandchildren are going, Grandma, who's the lady framed on your wall? And of course, you want to start in one place. Funkadelic Music for Your Mother, which is for all of the Westbound records that I just showed you, plus another couple. Excellent stuff. You have to know that. You have to know your funk rock. You have to know your early Funkadelic. After that, fine. You can disown it and say, too funky, too commercial, fine. It's wonderful stuff, actually. But that is the shit. So, first, let's talk about this record. We lost Bernie Worrell 8 years ago. And his widow, Judie, produced this record. Some old tracks that Bernie was working on. He used a keyboard player for Funkadelic. You also know Bernie with the Talking Heads for the later Talking Heads records. He also helped out with Keith Richards' first solo record, Talk Is Cheap. And just a bunch of other work, Government Mule and whatnot. This is just great. 77 minutes. And you don't get tired of it. And those songs where you're walking around doing something else, and I go, what the hell is that? No, what the hell is that here? This is great stuff with great people helping put the tracks together for this. Among the people helping out. Oh, just one more point about funk rock. If you heard any funk rock in the last 50 years, they have those records. They love those records, and they should. Like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is their Freaky Stally record that was produced by George Clinton of Funkadelic and Parliament and all the other bands related to Funkadelic and Parliament and the Prize of Funkenstein and Bootsy, and I'll get to it. So, who's on this record helping out? Well, I couldn't find my talking heads, but Fred Schneider is on this record, the MC of the B-52s. Well, I'm completely messed up. Hold on, I'll catch up. So, I'm talking about the B-52s. Fred Schneider helps out on one track. Great track at that. Bootsy is, of course, helping out. Another OG P-Funk bass player. Bootsy here, Bootsy from the day. Is Bootsy really famous enough to be on the red carpet of the Oscars and whatnot? If he is, fine. I'm not the ultimate judge of who's famous or not to be on the Oscars red carpet. But you always find Bootsy there. He ought to be. Let's leave it at that. Who else is helping? Remember Buckethead. Buckethead, great track there. Mike Watt. You know Mike Watt from solo? On this solo record, he does cover Maggot Brain appropriately. You also know Mike Watt from Firehose. And you know Mike Watt from the 21st Century Stooges records, because he became the bass player for the Stooges then. So, who else do I have here in my notes? Cherry Harrison, I was stumbling on, Talking Heads. I also was in the Martin Lovers with Jonathan Richman. Key credit there for Cherry Harrison. Fred Wesley and the Horny Horns. Well, I don't think the Horny Horns are with them, but Fred Wesley is on this record. And Sean Ono Lennon, also helps out. And how could I forget? There is a lost Funkadelic track on this with Eddie Hazel and Billy Bass Nilsson and Tiki Forwood. How much more P-Funk is hiding? Somewhere. George, get to work, get him out. So anyways, but Judie found one and put it on here. So, that's wonderful. I think the only thing that may throw you out is the children singing on the last track. But that's great. You know, it's just mellow, funky, groovy for 77 minutes. What more in life do you want? Just got to get in the right mood to be into that. And I was the last couple of days. The same mood you get into for Eddie Hazel. Dames and Guitar Thangs. And what I implied, I bought my first copy on 8-track of Dames and Guitar Thangs for $0.25 when 8-tracks was going out of style. and 8 tracks needed to go out of style. For anyone listening under 50, let me explain 8 track to you and why you should be happy they're gone. It's a tape. You already know how bad cassette tapes are and them being eaten. You know that part. So that happens to 8 tracks as well. On top of that, it's in a cartridge. It's in a figure 8. And it rolls around and you hear the mechanical whirling. You hear the tape hiss. You hear the movement of the tape within the cartridge. Just bloody awful. And they divide into 4 sections. And where they switch from the first section to the second and the third and the fourth section, there's this loud clank switching between tracks. And if the album does not naturally divide into 4 sections with a reasonable amount of time of blank space, then, and that's bad enough, having a minute of blank space waiting for the next clank clank going to the next section of the record. Worse, they will fade a song out, clank clank, and then fade it back up to finish the song. Bloody awful. I still can't hear Bruce Springsteen's She's the One without it being faded out. Because I owned an 8-track first. 8-track is gone, thank God. It was worth every quarter. Well, the quarter I paid for this because of the format. There's reports that vinyl records of this from the original pressing in 77 is very, very expensive. Bless their heart. And now they're keep on reissuing it, and like I said, another reissue is coming tomorrow. Remember, you can listen to this and pretty much everything else I showed on YouTube. Just type it up and it'll be there. So, freeze frame, Bernie Worrell, Way from the Wooniverse on YouTube. Eddie Hazel. Let's do it where you can read it. Dames and Guitar Thangs, also found on YouTube, and you can listen to it there. I'm sure Bernie's, widow would love to have the few cents from your sale. And Eddie died back in '92, so I'm sure his family would like to have a sale. Great stuff. And I carried on enough, but I'll tell you one story of my P-Funk story. I have a couple of P-Funk stories, but I'll give you this one. Let's go back to Maggot Brain. In Cleveland, Maggot Brain is a standard. It's a classic rock standard. Because if you never heard Maggot Brain, it's a fairly mellow but edgy song. And it's a long 9+ minute guitar solo by Eddie. It is bloody brilliant if you never heard it. I know they're lacking in musical education nowadays. Take my word for it. This is mandatory listening. And you're not in Cleveland, so you probably never heard the damn thing on a radio station. But in Cleveland, we do. Why? The overnight DJ 50 years ago on the progressive rock station would play Maggot Brain where the bars close. All the drunks need to be calmed down. See, we play Maggot Brain at 2:30 in the morning. He did that every night. And as he did that every night, the legend grew. And today, you can hear Maggot Brain on Cleveland radio pretty much almost any time of the day, but I'm talking especially before midnight. Right in the At first, it was only at 2:30 in the morning. Facebook friend of mine wrote this story for us. My Facebook friend is driving back up to Cleveland on a dark country road. He has the radio on, and Maggot Brain comes on for its entire 10-minute run. Beautiful. He's still got a ways to go to get home, and the next song sucks. He switches to another Cleveland rock station. They begin to play Maggot Brain. Over-the-air terrestrial radio sucks ass. But in Cleveland, while it may suck ass all the other times of the day, in Cleveland radio will give you 10 minutes of Maggot Brain. Doesn't make up for it, but that's good. That makes me proud of my hometown. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. A bit longer than I would like to, but hopefully I did not bore. Remember, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, leave a comment. What's your history with Maggot Brain? What's your history with Eddie Hazel and Bernie Worrell? Go listen to those records. Listen to the classic records on YouTube. It's all there. And come back here. Not for so much funk. It is action rock, garage rock, and classic and legacy bands like Funkadelic and others. Until next time, you have fun. Don't listen to that same old crap, for God's sake. Listen to something else. We don't. That's why I own all of this, right? And so do you. Till next time, have fun.